everything, it seems. I mean, the notion of getting a bunch of translators together and having them do what seems at first like a kind of crazy idea, doing a committee translation of one text, seems pretty unique to me. I've never heard of anybody else doing this. And I have to say I was kind of skeptical in the beginning that it would work, but everybody in the workshop seemed kind of skeptical in the beginning, and we had the first part of the text that we tackled. Everybody produced. We had 5 groups producing, 5 pairs of people producing different translations, and the end product, everyone agreed, was better than all of the first efforts. So it actually seems to work. It's not perhaps a speedy process, but it seems to work. So I think just the experience of doing that, having all these translators come together in one room and talk and debate this closely, this vigorously, this long, how to translate even just a single line, a single paragraph, really is an experience I imagine you might be able to have in classes at universities or something, but probably not at this level anywhere else. More than anything, probably, I hope that they'll come away having expanded their notion of what the possibilities of translation are, what translation includes, to be freed, in other words, a little bit from kind of standard fixed notions of what translation is, what the proper ways to translate are, so that they can, as translators, start to approach the text in a feeling slightly less pressure from these kind of notions of translation that we tend to walk around with in our heads. Loud. We have a lot of really vigorous debates, some shouting even. Although interestingly, over time, the volume level has been kind of decreasing. It started out being very, very loud, and today people were sort of more moderate and more cooperating even before they began to speak. They were kind of taking each other's ideas or positions into account, it seemed, even before producing their translation. So, but loud, I think, would be the one adjective I'd choose. I think just, people were interested in, I don't know that, I mean, it's called a summer school. I think personally, summer school sort of implies that you're going to be taught how to translate or something, and no matter where you go, I doubt you'll be taught how to translate, since it's a kind of, it's not a technique that you learn from outside, it's something that you kind of develop from within yourself. So I find that the summer school thing is a little bit misleading, maybe. So they should come not expecting to attend a summer school, but more to attend a kind of collective thought experiment. So if there are people who are interested in thinking about translation, who recognize how exciting it is, both as a process and as a topic to think about, coming and doing both those things, engaging in the process, both as kind of practice, I suppose, but also as a way of thinking about large issues concerning translation, as well as the kind of minuter issues of what you're going to do with particular words. That's a really great reason to come, to expand your own, how you think about translation, to expand your sensitivities to texts and to both the languages you're working with. All those, I think, are really good reasons to come. I guess, in my case, it'd be the process of translating from Japanese into English. I have the sense, I could be wrong, but I do have the sense that translation means something very different depending on which languages you're working with. So if you have somebody translating from Spanish to English or from English to Italian, that means probably 2 different things. Probably closer, I guess, to each other than they are to the process of translating from Japanese into English. I tend to think of the process of translating from Japanese into English as a kind of descent into wordlessness, where you start out looking at a text, feel what's happening as you read that text, and kind of observe very minutely what's happening inside of you without trying to rely. You kind of detach yourself from the original words that you were looking at that are stirring up certain feelings and thoughts and whatever inside you, and then try and reproduce some of that kind of swirling darkness under the surface of the ocean that you're feeling as you think about, feel the words that you read in a second language. So that's kind of how I think about it. I don't know if people translating from French into English or English into Italian or Spanish into English would agree. Well, since I'm an academic, I guess I'm sort of a translator full-time and an academic full-time, which means that it's a very sort of cramped position to be in, or a sort of stretched out position to be in. I don't know. So I won't answer that question. I'll say what it's like being a translator / academic. It's very busy. Of course, it means you're kind of juggling two professions at the same time. But it's also a lot of fun. It means that you're constantly, you can move between different worlds. You meet different kinds of people. You engage in different kinds of activities that are simultaneously related. So I think it just makes no matter what you're doing, if you're doing it full-time, part-time, in combination with some other profession, translation is just something that is, an extremely rich, wonderful. Experience is a nice way to say it, but drug is is really what it's more like. So it's a kind of, I don't know, maybe you could think of it as an extremely potent form of pepper, and you just put it on whatever you're eating, and it brings out the flavors.
That's good. What advice would you give someone thinking of becoming a translator?
The proper advice is don't become a translator, which is what everybody will tell you, except that they only say that because they know that people who've already been bitten by the bug have already been bitten by the bug. So I would say probably, if somebody's thinking of becoming a translator, they've probably already started becoming a translator. And so it's probably too late to consider not becoming a translator. So just, dive in as wholeheartedly as you can. And in particular, don't worry in the beginning about whether you can find a publisher. Don't worry about how well things are going. Just commit to the stuff that you've already committed to and love doing it. And eventually something will work out.
What are the main challenges of being a translator?
Time. I think you're finding, if you're a translator, there's so many things you have to do. You have to read, of course, not only in the language from which you're translating. You need to read widely there, but you also need to be reading widely, ideally, in the language into which you're translating. If you can read widely in other languages, that's even better. You need to be in constant contact, of course, with, if you're working on projects, you're in contact with agents, with editors, with publishers, with people who are writing to ask you to do things, and just, all the email you have to do, and then all the time you have to spend defending what you do if you are an academic, as I am. You just have so many commitments placed on you that it can get somewhat overwhelming, and you tend to notice months later that an email you needed to respond to somehow got pushed to the next page in your list of emails. And that's what it's like.